Rihanna just welcomed her third baby. And boom, she's already out here dropping bombs and stirring up drama. Word on the street is she's calling out Beyoncé for allegedly hiding Diddy's shady moves and even being mixed up in those wild secret parties people whisper about. Now, fans have always been confused. How come Rihanna and Beyoncé never teamed up? They were both tight with Jay-Z, right? Well, it looks like we finally got the tea, and it's hot. Back in the day, Rihanna used to say Beyoncé was her biggest inspiration, but now she barely even acknowledges her. The vibe totally changed, and here's why. Not only did Rihanna have to deal with Jay-Z allegedly hitting on her and reportedly keeping her in his office alone when she was just 17, which was already messed up, but there are also claims that Beyoncé tried to pull her into Diddy's freaky scenes too. Rihanna thought she could lean on Beyoncé when all that chaos with Jay-Z was going down, but nope, she found out real quick that Beyoncé wasn't that girl's girl image she puts out. Turns out, Beyoncé might have been way closer to Diddy than folks realized, and the truth really started leaking when Freddie from the group Da Band, began speaking up about what went down behind the scenes. Remember that wild moment on Making the Band when Diddy made those guys walk for hours just to get him a slice of cheesecake? Yeah, it turns out that whole stunt wasn't even his idea. It was all for Beyoncé, and even crazier, she's the one who told him to make them walk instead of sending a car. Freddie P., one of the original members from the show, recently dropped this jaw-dropping detail in an interview, and people can't stop talking. Back then, everyone thought Diddy was just flexing his power, making those guys trek through New York like it was boot camp. The walk from wherever they were to downtown took 4 full hours, all that just for one slice of cheesecake, and not even for Diddy. It was actually for Queen Bey. Now here's where things get messy. Freddie revealed that Beyoncé said she wanted cheesecake, but instead of asking her assistant or sending someone from her team, she told Diddy, and Diddy turned it into a whole reality show challenge. He used the band as pawns and made them suffer on camera just to please her request. And she didn't stop him. This wasn't just about cheesecake, this was about humiliation, power, and control, all broadcast on national TV while the audience laughed and clapped. Nobody stopped to question how twisted that whole scene really was. They were too busy being entertained by the struggle. And now that the truth is out, people are finally looking at that moment with fresh eyes. Freddie's bombshell has folks rethinking everything they thought they knew about that era and about Beyoncé's role behind the scenes. One thing's for sure, this wasn't just a walk for cheesecake, it was a 4-hour warning sign. That way more was going on than we realized. You'd think Beyoncé would have been shocked, or at least a little bothered, by the fact that Diddy made those boys walk hours across New York just to bring her a slice of cheesecake. But according to Freddie, she didn't care one bit. In fact, she chilled and enjoyed that cheesecake like nothing even happened. Freddie said it clear. When they finally came back exhausted and beat down, Beyoncé didn't even acknowledge what they went through. He said, "I ain't tell you nothing to walk back." Brr. Now back then, fans were confused. Why would Diddy go that hard just to impress Beyoncé? Sure, she was married to Jay-Z, one of Diddy's longtime associates, but other than that, what was the connection? Well, the puzzle pieces are starting to fall into place. According to rumors, Beyoncé wasn't just another guest in Diddy's circle. She was allegedly involved in those secret invite-only parties people are always whispering about, the kind of parties that had very strict guest lists and very little privacy. This gets even messier when Diddy, someone who had insider access, spoke up. He spilled that he once attended one of Diddy's infamous private parties, where Beyoncé and Jay-Z were also present. He claims that during the party, Diddy cleared the room, everyone out, except for 4 people, him, Beyoncé, Jay, and Diddy. And here's the twist. Diddy says once it was just them left in the room, Beyoncé started chatting him up real heavy, like real personal. He didn't go into full details, but the way he told it made people start putting 2 and 2 together. And it's got folks side-eyeing everything. And get this, Beyoncé actually introduced herself to Diddy like she was just some regular person off the street. Like, come on, you're Beyoncé. Of course he knows who you are. That move alone had folks raising their eyebrows, wondering what exactly she was trying to pull. Now, according to Jaguar Wright, who's never been shy about spilling industry secrets, that whole meeting wasn't just a chill hangout, it was one of those freak-off setups. And Beyoncé, she was allegedly trying to charm Deba and see what he was working with. Jaguar even claimed Beyoncé was chasing that Raw Street energy because, in her words, Jay wasn't putting it down like that anymore. But hold up, it gets even more unsettling. Rumors started spreading that at some point Jay-Z and Beyoncé allegedly tried to pull Rihanna into that same hidden lifestyle. Yeah, that's why Rihanna reportedly stepped back from the industry. People say when she turned them down, refusing to be part of those exclusive and suspicious gatherings, things got ugly. There are whispers that her team's plans were suddenly thrown into chaos, music leaked without warning, her album rollout got messed up, and things around her started falling apart. Some folks believe that wasn't a coincidence. They think it was payback for not playing along. That's when Rihanna decided to pull away and focus on her own path. She went quiet, took control of her image, and built her own empire far from that drama-filled circle. And honestly, who could blame her? A lot of fans believe this is exactly why Rihanna's been so hesitant to drop new music. It's not because she's lazy or out of ideas. It's because she remembers what she went through. And after dealing with that behind-the-scenes mess, she wants no part of it anymore, especially when she's out here building a billion-dollar empire with Fenty on her terms. Now, to really understand the tension, you gotta rewind. There was a time when Rihanna adored Beyoncé. She looked up to her, even called her the biggest inspiration in her life. That's no small praise. But all that admiration started fading once Rihanna began rising in the industry. The more she got around Beyoncé and saw how she moved, that love turned into distance, then into silence. Things really hit the fan when Beyoncé dropped her track Bow Down. That song shook the internet. Beyoncé went from singing about empowering women and telling girls they run the world to suddenly calling those same girls out and telling them to bow down. And yep, she threw out that B word in the process. Fans weren't having it. They dragged Beyoncé for switching up, calling her a hypocrite for preaching girl power one day and throwing shade the next. And many believe that line was aimed directly at Rihanna, who at the time was dominating the charts and coming into her own. That moment made it crystal clear. Whatever bond these two once had, it was over. So here's where things really start to get shady, head, and controversial. Back when Rihanna was just getting started, it was her own publicist who sparked the rumor that she was having an affair with Jay-Z. Wild, right? But later, that same publicist backtracked and admitted it was all a stunt. He confessed, saying, "The PR stunt I did was out of desperation to help break Ponder Replay. It was reckless and I didn't think it was going to work. I was just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what would stick." But let's be real, a lot of people didn't buy that explanation. It felt like damage control after something way bigger started to leak. That's because around the same time, rumors began swirling that Rihanna had allegedly confided in someone about a disturbing moment with Jay-Z. She claimed that the very day she got signed, Jay locked her in his office for hours and wouldn't let her leave until she agreed to the deal. She was young, very young, and people believe there may have been more going on behind those closed doors than just contract negotiations. And remember, Rihanna wasn't even an adult yet. That detail alone had people questioning the whole situation. What really happened in that office? Why was she alone with him like that? Now connect the dots. Rihanna says no to joining those secret gatherings, and suddenly her album rollout hits all kinds of roadblocks. There were leaks, delays, and chaos, and people believe Jay and Beyoncé may have had a hand in that because she didn't play by their rules. It's messy, it's uncomfortable, and it's got a lot of fans looking back at that time with a whole new perspective. Let's talk about that major leak because it was no accident. Rihanna's anti-album mysteriously dropped early on Tidal, the very platform owned by Beyoncé and Jay-Z. That leak forced Rihanna to rush release the album before she was ready. No full rollout, no major buildup, just boom, out in the wild. Meanwhile, Beyoncé's album Lemonade, which was supposed to drop right around the same time, got the red carpet treatment. Full promo, full control, and the spotlight all to herself. And the numbers? They tell the story. Rihanna's ANTI sold just 124,000 copies in its first week. Meanwhile, Lemonade soared, pulling in 653,000 copies. That's a massive difference. Fans noticed the tension building, and it finally exploded into the public eye during the title press conference. Eyewitnesses say Rihanna and Beyoncé straight up refused to speak to each other, wouldn't even stand next to one another. A source told Naughty Gossip the whole event was carefully choreographed, and those two had almost nothing to do with each other. You could feel the frost in the room. It was clear something deeper was going on. This wasn't just two stars minding their business. This was a full-blown feud brewing behind the scenes. Now, with everything that's come out, the alleged freak-off invites, the sabotage rumors, the shady rollout, people are starting to look back and connect the dots. And as more tea gets spilled, folks are starting to wonder, is Rihanna about to take the stand and finally say her piece? If that ever happens, it's not looking too good for Beyoncé. One fan summed it up best. The fact that Rihanna and Beyoncé have never done a song together, that speaks louder than any interview. That silence between Rihanna and Beyoncé, it says everything. One fan didn't hold back, posting, "Come on now. Beyoncé knows exactly what Jay's into. She knows her man likes him young. Jay definitely messed with Rihanna." And just like that, the internet lit up again with debates, theories, and more receipts getting pulled up. Now, the real question on everyone's mind, is Rihanna really about to blow the lid off Beyoncé's alleged connection to Diddy? And if these claims are true, was Beyoncé really involved in those mysterious private parties too? People are digging deep, and the speculation isn't slowing down. With all the whispers about those freak-off events, industry secrets, and power games, folks are starting to believe Rihanna's silence all these years wasn't just about taking a break. It was about staying safe and staying out of a system she wanted no part of. So now it's your turn. What do you think? Is Rihanna finally exposing the truth about what went down behind the scenes? Was Beyoncé just playing innocent while moving in those same secret circles? Drop your thoughts below. This convo is far from over. And if you think this was messy, wait till you see what's next. Click right here to dive into even more untold drama.